Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. I'd like to invite you to join me on the next Legal Lines, where my guest is Hillar Moore. He's the district attorney for our parish in our city. 3,000 shots per month take place in a 6 square mile area within our parish. Hillar's never seen a higher murder rate, homicide rate in the history of his tenure, 10 years. He's going to tell us what he thinks needs to happen, and crime needs to be a top priority. Join us on the next Legal Lines with Hillar Moore. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. First of all, I want to thank you for considering our firm for help in handling your legal matter. We know what we're doing. We've been around for a long time. We have over 60 years combined legal experience as lawyers. I've been practicing over 30 years, Sean over 25, and I have paralegals and legal secretaries who've worked for me for over 27 years. We've handled about every kind of case you can handle, and we've been very good at it. The bottom line is, it is our goal to be your protector when necessary, advisor, negotiator, and to successfully conclude the litigation for you in a way that is very favorable. Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you. Hello, welcome to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith, and I'm very pleased to have back on the show Hillar Moore. He's the district attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish. Hillar, it's fantastic to have you back on the show. We got a little updating to do. Seems like the last time we were together, things were going pretty well, and the legislature was pondering some sentencing changes and such. And then it seems like all hell's broken loose. At least that's the public impression.
Sure.
And so you've now been district attorney 10 years. Used to go out to every site if you could. It's almost gotten impossible now. What's going on?
So I appreciate you having me back. It's always good to be here to talk about these things. And we like to talk about what we do. We don't always like to talk about when we have difficult issues. And East Baton Rouge Parish is going through some difficult times from 2016, 2017, and now into 2018. And as bad as things seem to people, the actual reality is that overall violent crime is down. It fluctuates in some categories here and there, up and down, but it's not only in Baton Rouge, it's all across the nation that overall violent crime is down. Now, unfortunately, homicide in Baton Rouge is up.
Right.
And it's
historical high, right?
Yes, and it's up significantly. And people have studied what happened, why did that happen, what's the reason for it.
Right.
And we just published a paper called Crime in Baton Rouge 2018.
And let's be sure and put that up, the banner, and how they could get access to that, the folks.
And we wanted to make sure that people knew that we believe that we know what's going on. So we looked at 10-year history of Baton Rouge and even further to see where we have been, where we are right now, and where do we think the future is, and what do we need to get to a better Baton Rouge.
Great, I'm glad to hear.
So right now our feeling is that too many people have illegal guns. And this is no statement against guns whatsoever. But kids have guns, and they have conflicts, and they're attempting to resolve their conflicts with weapons. And unfortunately, due to the shortage of sheriff's deputies, state troopers, and city police, people can somewhat shoot, oftentimes with impunity, and get away with it and run real quickly and hide. And so we really have to address that in order to make things better where we are. So that's a small statement, but there's a lot that will go into that.
It's accountability is what it boils down to, doesn't it?
But it's also technology. It's shot spotter technology.
And you guys know, when a shot is fired, and y'all can target right where it is.
So yes, with an asterisk. So we have shot spotter technology, which triangulates shots. But in Baton Rouge, for the entire many miles of Baton Rouge, we're only covered by 6 square miles of shot spotter coverage.
Really? So how many devices we need?
So well, if you shoot, and so shot spotter is only per square mile. So we have 6 devices. And we try to put it in the areas where the hardest hit and most used.
And those zip codes, that's what Brave was based on.
But however, things are just not confined in 6 square miles in Baton Rouge. We miss a lot. And nationally and in Baton Rouge, overall, take shot spotter out of the equation. If you live in an area where there's not a shot spotter, people call in police when they hear shots fired at a rate of 18 to 20%.
Wow.
So
So 1 out of 5 shots.
So in ShotSpotter technology coverage areas,
Wow.
we know 100% of the time that a shot has been fired. It tells us automatically on our app, on our phone, in our computer, in the dispatch, shots have just been fired. This is whether we're fired from, and you can actually see if a shot is moving from block to block or down.
So
the
somebody's
street.
moving and shooting at the same time.
And you can tell by the different caliber which weapon may be shot first.
Really?
So that alerts the police to get to that scene quickly to try to find somebody with a gun to make an apprehension. Maybe someone shot to render aid quicker. Then also to recover shell casings that are left on the ground.
Evidence.
Evidence. And it gives us a circle around where you think you would find the shell casings. And so most of our shots are fired by semi-automatic weapons that eject shell casings. And so what the police do, they're dispatched quickly, trying to find a shooter, trying to find a victim. And if not, they then try to find shell casings. And from those shell casings, we're able to take the shell casings, DNA swab them just in case. The yield is somewhat low on that. Then put them in a NIBIN machine, a National Integrated Ballistics Information Network. It's a machine that actually looks like there's a fingerprint on the ejection mark for the shell, and we can tell if that gun has been used before.
Because it's created, it's like a fingerprint.
Just like a fingerprint. But in order to do that, we need to know a shot was fired. So with only 6 square miles, we're limited. From there, if we're ever able to find a person with that weapon, so now we know we have a person in possession of a weapon that's been used many times. We also do a network analysis of these shell casings to see how many other of these shell casings from the same gun have been located and found, and how they related to other shootings. Who's involved with those shootings to help us make a better case. Unfortunately, in Baton Rouge, on any given night, in the 6 square mile area, you're looking at between 13 to 25 shots fired per night. That's extremely difficult to follow up on that night and the following day.
Every night, Hill.
Every night, in just that area. So the manpower shortage that the Baton Rouge Police has and the Sheriff's Office have is incredible, the impact that it has on our inability to really follow up, knock on doors, knock on neighbors' doors.
There might be an eyewitness or something.
Absolutely. And there's
That's
one
300 to 400 times a month.
So in that area, we're around 3,000 shots per year, and that's 6 squad. That's a lot of shots. That has to be reduced. So that's one of our big goals, is to try to not only reinvigorate BRAVE under a different name, but to start what's called a gun stop program. That is, educate people of what is an illegal gun, how to stop people from guns, and that we as DAs and United States attorneys, we're going to step up the game on prosecution of guns, illegal guns.
Sure.
And so that's one of the big programs that we're going to try to start here this year. In fact, we started since January.
Hillar, do we have some type of database or process by which if someone loses a gun or has a gun stolen, they can advise the police or the law enforcement?
Yeah, so we ask that people who have guns that are stolen from the car that wind up on the street in the killer's hand, that they notify the police immediately. Oftentimes, unfortunately, they do not.
And what is the reason? Do you know? Are they
They're
worried they're going to get
afraid,
tagged to it?
Maybe they don't have legal ownership to the weapon. Because we find that these guns, we find guns that are powerful, they become communal guns. And once these people use that gun, they know it's successful, they pass that gun around from person to person. We see it popping up on our crime scenes. So just locking your car, reporting your gun stolen is important to us.
So the bottom line is the technology exists for us to identify this. And if you have the folks to go out there and milk it for all it's worth, so to speak, then...
No doubt.
But we don't have that. We have neither, huh?
We have one NIBIN machine, and we just got good news that the ATF will give us another NIBIN machine. We need a $50,000 donation for the microscope that actually compares these and certifies these things. That's one thing that we're missing now, but the addition of the $300,000 NIBIN machine was really great for us.
And so you look for another donation?
For $50,000 for this microscope for the State Police Crime Lab.
And again, what that does is enable you to create a database of the fingerprint, so to speak.
That's correct.
All right, perfect. All right, we'll continue this on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines, and my special guest, Hillar Board, District Attorney in Baton Rouge Parish. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. First of all, I want to thank you for considering our firm for help in handling your legal matter. We know what we're doing. We've been around for a long time. We have over 60 years combined legal experience as lawyers. I've been practicing over 30 years, Sean over 25, and I have paralegals and legal secretaries who've worked for me for over 27 years. We've handled about every kind of case you can handle, and we've been very good at it. The bottom line is, it is our goal to be your protector when necessary, advisor, negotiator, and to successfully conclude the litigation for you in a way that is very favorable. Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. I'm Locke Meredith. Again, pleased to have back on the show Hillar Moore. He's the district attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish. Let's dive back in, Hillar. I remember 5 years ago, we were did a whole year of crime stuff with you and the sheriff and the chief of police at that point. And I remember you saying something to the effect that, Locke, if people knew the truth about what's going on out there, they'd be afraid to come out of their houses. And you've just given us proof of that with 3,000 shots in just a 6 square mile area, which is flabbergasting. So why is this happening?
Well, I guess if I had that answer and could fix it, I'd be real rich.
Well, I know we've had this massive turmoil with the Alton Sterling event.
I think we even go back further. So you have to look at historically, not only Baton Rouge, but the state and the country. You have to look at families and race relations and racial inequality. You have to go through all education, now add on mental health, add on poverty, add on all of those things that you have, and then you put it in a certain segment of our community that all of that stuff is laid on top of layer on top of layer, and then you can kind of understand why things are going really bad in certain small segments. But despite that, even in those small segments that we talk about, we give them zip codes because that's how it makes it easier for us. But for the most part, those people are high achievers, and despite all of the layers of bad things we put on them, their kids and themselves do not engage in criminal activity or drug dealing or shoot people, and they go to school. It's a very small, densely populated group of people that are killers and are really bad people that affect that whole good group of people that live there. They want to live in peace. 10%? No, it's much less. It's 5%. I've heard the figure 10. It's 5%. It's a very few small.
So 95% of folks are great.
And when I mentioned that when you walk through these neighborhoods that we deal with, there's a lot of poverty there. There's a lot of broken down homes that we need to take care of as a city, and that we have not done a good job of taking care of those houses there. And they just get filled up with trash. People stash their guns there. They deal drugs in those areas. We did a study in Baton Rouge, and we showed that within 100 feet of a blighted property, we have 35% of our violent crimes. So they know they can get away with it because nobody's there. And so that's a problem that we're trying to address now. We need to do a much better job at that. Now, we also, getting back to the BRAVE type group violence reduction strategy or the ceasefire strategy.
Because we had a lot of stuff imported from New Orleans, did we not, during Katrina and other events?
So go back to Katrina, good point. Baton Rouge never really had a witness intimidation problem. Up until around that point, when some folks from New Orleans came, in my opinion, and they came and they moved toward Baton Rouge, and they not only moved in Baton Rouge, but they also moved toward Lake Charles, to Houston, to Dallas, and Atlanta. So before, historical guys that are doing bad things in New Orleans really didn't talk to the guys in Baton Rouge because they beefed with each other. Now, because of that, they've had to move here and get along, and now they've connected their business connections together, not only New Orleans and Baton Rouge, but Houston, Dallas, Atlanta. So we now see connections where we never saw those connections before. And unfortunately, I believe that a lot of our people here learned from New Orleans that a way to help your case and to get yourself out of trouble is to intimidate a witness by shooting their house, by doing social media. And it's not only in Baton Rouge, it's all over the nation. But fortunately for us, we do have a technical assistance grant And we are looking at our witness intimidation problems here, along Boston and Baltimore, all three cities, the three Bs, and we're comparing what are we doing, what are they doing, what's our best practice, how can we best stop witness intimidation. We see it most often in homicide cases,
right.
Assault types of cases, and particularly domestic violence cases. And we've had historical numbers of domestic violence homicides. But since the end of the BRAVE grant, and the money.
BRAVE was successful.
BRAVE was successful outside of any administrative hiccups that were there. So we have to acknowledge that was the issue. It's got some bad press, but the overall idea was to stop people from killing each other. First, to identify who was killing each other.
And y'all met with them. Y'all would create relationships, try and scare the crap out of them, give them other options.
Give an option. We wish that we could have given more services to kids, but these kids who are potential at-risk kids, really, they don't wave their hand and say, hey, I'd like to change my life and get out of this system.
Help me, please.
You really have to be pushed somewhat into that. So we also had some blurrings of the lines between the enforcement arm of this. That is, we told them, put your guns down, don't shoot, we're going to come after you.
Right.
And the kind where you wanted to help them get help so you don't go there. And we have that resolved at this point. So BRAVE was highly successful in reduction of homicide. What we now need to do is replicate that without the grant, and that's why we reached out for private funding, and one of the main reasons to write the paper, Crime 2018. And fortunately at this point, we've had at least 2 private donors who are not quite so private.
I read Mr. Bernhard, right?
Yes, and Mike Wampole.
Excellent.
And
Mike's
others
a great
who
guy
have come
also.
forward, and they said, we will provide you money for at least 1 year to get started. So that's what we're doing right now, working very hard to rename, rebrand, and resell the former known BRAVE. What the name will be, we're up in the air. We've had to change names because they were too close to others. But the idea is to identify the shooters, the trigger pullers, and the potential victims, because they're all in the same group. Give them the message, try to help them out of that way, cut the number of homicides down, helps everybody, and see that happens. And also expand it in the domestic violence arena, because last year we had 14 domestic violence homicides.
And it's down to what now?
Well, this year
Or
we
is
had
it
5.
still bad? So that's still
this
pretty
year we're
damn
not
bad.
on a bad pace again this year as we were last year. Did that have something to do with the hurricane and the flood that we had? Probably. We've seen some increases in suicide. We've surely seen increases in opioids deaths, which is all over the nation. But
right.
It was significant on the DV homicides. You went from 16 being 7 to 2017 being 14, and now an 18.5. Last year, which was also really unusual, we had 4 of the 14 were murder-suicides. So there was a lot of mental, emotional issues involved in those types of relationships that we see often.
Now, I know BRAVE, or at least my recall is that BRAVE also kind of resulted in a collaboration with LSU, Dr. Shahade, and technology and reviewing data. Do we still have that capability?
So that capability is really narrowed down because of lack of funds, because a lot of the funds went there to Dr. Cecile Guin, Dr. Tracy Rizzuto, Dr. Shahada. But they are now on board with us. They're doing as much as they can without the grant money. We hope to get other grant monies that will continue to fund them, because we need the data. We want to be driven by data and not just a hunch.
And it does. I mean, it basically tells you, they can almost predict where a crime is going to happen and who's going to do it.
Correct. And you have to be careful with just data. We have to use also other information to verify our data.
All right. Well, so let's shift gears a little bit. So tell me what you're recommending in the paper that you've just put together.
So
I know it's a lot of stuff.
Paper's a lot.
So and we've got another segment, but let's start that process.
So, we need license plate readers and crime cameras for sure to immediately help crime. And that's the first thing that we can start.
All right, well, let's continue it on the next segment. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines. My special guest, Hillar Moore, District Attorney, East Baton Rouge Parish. We're talking about crime. We'll be right back. Hello, I'm Locke Meredith. First of all, I want to thank you for considering our firm for help in handling your legal matter. We know what we're doing. We've been around for a long time. We have over 60 years combined legal experience as lawyers. I've been practicing over 30 years, Sean over 25, and I have paralegals and legal secretaries who've worked for me for over 27 years. We've handled about every kind of case you can handle, and we've been very good at it. The bottom line is, it is our goal to be your protector when necessary, advisor, negotiator, and to successfully conclude the litigation for you in a way that is very favorable. Knowledge is power, and the folks who know what they're doing empower you. They enable you to make the right kind of decisions that best serves you. And that's our number one goal, frankly. Our number one ministry is to serve you. Welcome back to Legal Lines. It's Locke Meredith. Again, I'm pleased to have on the show Hillar, District Attorney for East Baton Rouge Parish. Let's dive in. So we've talked about kind of what's going on. Things ain't great. They're bad. And so you've outlined in a paper to get certain technology and equipment that makes your job easier to put these guys away and keep them away. Tell me what they are again.
So a few things. First, we want to prevent it before it occurs. That's one of the main things the technology is involved in. But really, first of all, the backbone of any police department or sheriff's office, like the backbone of a DA's office, or the line officers on the street,
the soldiers,
in uniform.
That's right. The soldiers on the front line.
It's the young men and women that are really doing the hard work throughout the night. Same thing with DAs that are on the line doing the hard work. And everybody is down. City police down 60, sheriff down 100. We're down, assistant DAs. So you have to take people off of specialized units that really need a lot of attention and have to put them on the line to answer calls.
So you're not using you're using overqualified people for certain positions because you don't have enough people there?
Well,
because they're technically advanced, are they
in
not?
certain cases, it's such more time intensive, and like handling a domestic violence case or a rape case, surely much more intensive than handling a different type of case. I mean, it just is.
You're developing expertise.
You need more time and more expertise for that. So we need more officers on the street, or all this other stuff we're doing is not going to amount to a lot. But besides the officers, then they need to have the technology to help them. We really would like to see in Baton Rouge, we're fairly close to a real-time crime unit. That is, people and analysts can sit in a room like this room and look at the database of cameras that we currently don't have and the license plate readers, listen to the dispatch of all the different dispatches, and have access to different databases that when something goes down in that area, shots fired right now, you know who's in that area, who's your most likely
suspects.
So let's start looking at where are they? Can you find them? Do we have cameras that we can track a car that just left that area? What kind of car? Someone calls in and says, hey, it's a white car. I have no idea what kind it is, but it's white. Can we get on the camera and look? The answer is we have 500 state cameras that record 0. So if you're not watching a 500 cameras live, you can never go back and look at it.
Why are they not recording?
It's just the way they're set up. Do we know where homeowners that have private cameras, can we go knock on their door? Right now, we don't have that open eyes system to where I know this homeowner has a camera facing the street. We'd like to develop that like they have in Manhattan, that they know where 40,000 different cameras are. That would help me a whole lot,
right,
and would prevent, hopefully, crime. But the Real-Time Crime Center would cost around $1.3 million. It's a big undertaking. It's a lot of people. It's a lot of equipment.
And that's for 1 year, or for it
to set up the whole,
permanently get it going?
To set up the unit, they would probably have costs with regard to who runs it, personnel. And again, we're short, they're short. And you want not only city police, sheriff, state police, you want different people in there that have access to different databases and know things. So that's one big item that we have. The license plate readers, $15,000. Crime cameras, $10,000.
Per camera?
Per camera. The connectivity that you would need to get the feed for those, that's something that's really over my head. But once you put a license plate reader in, you're able to lock down an area. And for example, Tigerland, we have one license plate reader in Tigerland. There's actually 2 big entrances there. If we're able to get one more in Tigerland, that place is locked down, so where
it's constantly monitored.
It's constant, and that license plate reader goes off for us once a week.
How many do you need, Hillar?
We probably need, maximum we would like to have 50 to 70. We have very few right now. So, and they're also either stationary or they're moving. The ones that are moving seem to be more effective than stationary, but it kind of depends on the location. We have certain street corners in particular areas of the street that are the highest, densest area that we need. We have no crime cameras in those locations.
How many cameras do we need?
If we had 50 crime cameras, we would be pretty effective. If you compare us to Jefferson Parish, You can't move in Jefferson Parish without being on the LPR or a camera. So we're able to strategically look at all locations. We know where to put them. So you're not spying on people. If someone runs through that area in a car, we just are able to say that white car that we just had the description went through that crime camera. Now let's take a look at it. That license plate can read that license. We know who it comes back to. It gives us the ability to
respond to help somebody or chase down a criminal.
Someone that's in an office is able to tell the detective who's out there talking to people, hey, this is what I just found. And we have all kinds of things in the works for that, but it costs
Meaning
money.
grant requests?
We have grant requests. LSU has a really big grant request right now that they're working on that ties in crime and transportation. And that's a big ask right now. We're in the initial stages of that. But
so how do you need money is the bottom line, right? So how do you get the resources for this?
So from that, the design of the paper is to let people know when we go to ask them for money that I don't want to just say, hey, Locke, would you and your company donate $5,000 or $10,000? You could put up a crime camera here, it would help me. You would probably want to know as a business person, well, tell me what's the research, what's the data, what's the benefit? And that's the idea behind the paper. So when I go see the really big companies that do this, they bottom line, their data collected. I want them to see what I have and what I know and I think what the benefit will be, so that they can say, okay, I can see where my $50,000, my $100,000 will go. I see what the benefit is.
Smaller, and it's adding security to their own premises.
Absolutely. Even if it's not where they live in their home, it affects their business. That's bottom line. But a small company, what if you gave me $1,000 or $5,000, but I combine that with all the other companies, $1,005? You guys together can buy another license plate reader, a camera. So our office, we're going to try to raise $15,000 in my office, where some of that would be matched, where I can, as an office, buy a camera.
Well, I can tell you right now,
and ask others.
Our firm will contribute to this project.
Well, we appreciate that it's needed. But then we'd ask others, lawyers, would you do the same and put it into a nonprofit that would be controlled by a group that would know where this money goes, and it's for hardware, it's not for someone's salary to go somewhere. So
let me ask you this question. So that's all seeking private source money. How about getting money from the feds and the state and our local metro council and the mayor? Where are we on this?
From the feds, we ask for every grant we can ask for. So we're going to continue.
And I know our guys up there are fighting for it.
They are. And the state, states having financial problems, so does the city. I think that eventually the state and the city, with regard to criminal justice, reinvestment, our prison population, those that are returning, we need to invest our money where the problems are. We have to look at what our priorities are. That's a tough call, because you can always have to cut somebody out because this is a priority. Everyone has their hands and want more and need more because they can do better. That is a problem, but it's one that we really have to devote time to.
It sounds like there's two ways. One is you get the government to prioritize reducing crime and providing safety for the public with the existing resources, which would result in someone perhaps losing some service or some department doing with less, or you raise taxes. That's the bottom line,
and
right?
That's always distasteful. That's correct.
And so where are we on both of those two fronts?
I think everyone knows that we need some type of tax money. That's what we're told. Really, no one, it's distasteful to have to ask people when you had other taxes that have passed and it's a lot of money. Nobody wants another tax.
I would suggest if the government would dedicate and tell us exactly where that money's going, there would be a much greater likelihood for success.
Maybe that'll happen.
Hillar, thank you so much. Appreciate seeing you again.
Sir. Enjoyed it.
Look forward to the update next time. This is Locke Meredith, Legal Lines, my special guest, Hillar Moore, District Attorney, East Baton Rouge Parish. Thank you for being with us.